que diera $20,000 donation.
Okay.
No sé si ella va a reconocer algún discount.
We're going to start on Pei Zion
87.
87a.
Yeah. I catch up half of yesterday.
So we did the Mishnah. The Mishnah is discussing the wine that was used.
The 86 like this Shabbos. 87A?
87a. The first point, the Gemara is going to discuss the points of the Mishnah. The first point that we're going to discuss is what the Mishnah said, is that Ein Mivian V'lei Masuk V'lei Mevushal V'lei Me'ushan B'mhevi Pasuk. You're not allowed to use sweet wine, cooked wine, or smoked wine. That means if the grapes were smoked. And if you do, we're talking about the libations, the wine that's poured on the Mizbeach. And if you do, it's puzzle. Oh, beautiful. The Gemara asks, we mentioned that you're not allowed to use listiain wine. Listiain was a wine that the grapes were sweetened in the sun. They were left in the sun. But B'diavad says kosher. And then it says that if it's masuk, you're not allowed to use, and it's puzzle. So it doesn't fit. Listiain is sweet, masuk is sweet. One says b'diavad after the fact it's puzzle. One says after the fact it's kosher. So Amar Ravina Karach V'tani. Ravina says that there's actually a problem here in the Mishnah, and you have to amend it. The first thing that it said in the Mishnah was Ein Mevi'en es listiain. Now you have to skip him hevi kosher. Why? Mipnei she'ein mevi'en lo yasa masuk. You have to join it together, sandwich it together. Karach v'tani means you sandwich it together, and you say, what's the reason why you can't bring listiain? Because it's sweet, and therefore im hevi pasol. So what Ravina is doing is he is amending the Mishnah. Rav Ashi Amar Chulya deshimsha loimas, Chulya depeira mas. Now I didn't get what the word chulya is, but I assume it means sweetness. If you have in the English, it says in the translations here they say sweetness, but I don't know what the origin of that word is. Okay, if it's sweetened in the sun, then it's b'diavad kosher. But if it's sweetened from fructose outside, from other fruits that are added in, that's how they had sugar, so then that's puzzle. So if it's because of other ingredients, so then it's puzzle even b'diavad. But if it was just sweetened in the sun, then that's going to be kosher. Okay.
So basically he differentiates.
Right. Rav Ashi gives you that it's two different cases. It's interesting. Ravina and Rav Ashi are in the same time, but Ravina's pshat is he has to amend the Mishnah with that. Okay. Ein Mevi'en Yashan, you're not allowed to bring old wine. Divrei Rabbi. Chachamim machshivim. Chachamim say yes, you can. That's what we learned in the Mishnah. Amar Chizkiah. Chizkiah says, my time at the Rabbi. What's the reason for Rabbi? It was a little surprising for us because we always heard that old wine is much better. Amar Kra, lakeves yayin. The pasuk says that when you would bring the sacrifices for a sheep, you would bring wine. And ma keves ben shnasai, just like a sheep, a keves is within its first year. So afyayin ben shnasai. That juxtaposition of la keves yayin tells me that the wine needs to be within its first year. So the Gemara asks on this: Ima keves ben shtayim pasal, afyayin ben shtayim pasal. If we're going to do a real limud here, juxtaposition, then we should take it the whole way. And just like a sheep that's out of its year is not valid, so too the wine should not be valid. So maybe that's so. It didn't say in the Mishnah anything.
What is connection to yain matok, the bar sweet that posel the korban? I guess
Not the korban, it's posel the yayin.
Yeah.
They would pour wine for each korban that was brought. They had flour, oil, and wine.
Yes.
What type of wine are you allowed to bring? So you can't bring wine that's sweetened with sugar. You can't bring wine that's
No
sweetened in the sun.
No Barton.
No.
Thank you, Doctor.
You can't bring wine that's sweetened in the sun. If you bring it, so if it's sweetened in the sun, according to Ravashi, it's fine. But if it was sweetened with other fruits to sweeten it, then it's not good.
So it was dry wine then.
It was a dry wine. But it was a fresh, it was a young, very young wine, because it was made that year. At least according to Rabbi. What happens if it was older than a year? Is it going to be puzzle? V'hatanya yayin ben shtei shanim lo yavi v'mhevi kosher. We have a brisa that says that it's kosher. It's b'diavad. So our Mishnah didn't clarify that. Our Mishnah, it's funny how our Mishnah tells us some b'diavad and some not. Okay, man shamat le da amar lo yavi. When we have this brisa, who is the one that says that you can't bring it? L'chatchila. Rabbi. Vika amar, and he's the one that says im hevi kosher. That's part of our proof that you can't say that it's puzzle. So we have a question on Chizkiah that Chizkiah learns from Kevas Yayin. Elamar Rava, we jumped generations here. Rava says, Hainu time of the Rebbe, what's the reason of Rebbe? The Ksiv Altera Yayin ki Yisadim. Do not look at wine at its redness. This is all those psukim in Mishlei that are discouraging the consumption of wine, all the ills that it brings, and it talks about the women that come along with it. And son, if your heart is wise, I will rejoice. It's a gesund. So apparently, wine in its first year, young wine is more red. I don't know. I'm guessing here that afterwards it turns more brown. So alter yain ki yasadim. What's the reason for Rebbe? Because it's more red, so it's better. It looks nicer. The color is nicer, but it's kosher b'diavad if it's not. Okay. In Mevi'in leimen adalia is you're not allowed to bring from the grapes that are hanging on sticks that hold up the vines. Rather, you take from the grapes that are by the feet. And then it says that you bring from the fields that are worked. It's very important that they loosen the soil around the roots so that the water could seep in.
Yes.
It happens sometimes you pour water on a plant, but if it's not loose, it just sits on top and you stick your finger, it's all dry on the bottom. It just like drowns it from the.
It says that the worms that they give in
the worms do that, right?
They open the lens so that water
Right.
will penetrate to it.
Right. So Tana, it's taught in a brisa. Kramim avudim pamayim b'shana. When it says that the vineyards need to be worked twice a year. Rav Yosef havali karna de pardisa. This is very interesting. I didn't know Rav Yosef had this. He had a corner of a field. The Rafik beit Tvei Rivka. That he would plow it up, like turn over the soil,
It was
an extra time, a vineyard of his a pardes, his an orchard, but it must be a vineyard because we see va'avid chamra, and it made a type of wine, the dare maya al chad train, that you could mix the water 1 to 2, when what was normally was one mix. Whatever the ratio was, he could mix double that into his wine because it was so rich, the wine,
Strong.
so strong. So he could mix in an extra time of water into his wine. Why? Because he plowed the soil twice during the year.
He loosened the soil.
Right.
The same amount of wine.
Normally, you mix a certain amount of wine to water was 1 to 6. Normally, he could do it double. Okay,
That guy was also that on the olive trees. He was also doing that.
Oh, is that what we learned?
Yeah, we learned the yesterday.
Oh yeah, he was doing that.
Taking around
It didn't mention that was the reason. It was mentioning it like how he was acting like a pauper,
Right.
and
But he also knew that.
but that was what was helping.
Loosen the soil, you get a lot of olive oil.
Uh-huh.
Oh, yes, of course.
Very nice.
Sit over there.
He got a
To the
million
water.
barrels of oil.
Rashi over here says that it was normally 1 to 3. In this case, it was 1 to 6. The scholars claim that the reason why in the olden days they would mix the wine to water
It's too strong.
was because the fermentation was not so good, and people get sick in the stomach. You have the same strains of yeast and all of that, so they would mix it. It was actually like a punch. It's like a wine punch that they would mix it to, and that's what they would drink 10 cups. Today we drink. You drink 2 cups of wine, you're already a little, by the Seder, if you have a regular wine, you're already, you can't drink it. Everyone's drinking these
So our wine is
eminent
stronger?
dry, So our wine is much stronger, but because we have better strains of yeast and all of that, so we're not getting sick off it. That's what they're claiming. It doesn't fit with what the Alter Rebbe writes. It seems that it was actually strong, that it was actually much stronger than our wine. The question is
that you're not allowed to add water to our wine, because our wine, if you dilute it too much, it may not be kosher for kiddush.
I'm not sure. That could be, but the question is it the strength of the alcohol content that was much higher? Because there's a certain amount of sugar in the grapes that could convert to alcohol. To use, they measure the bricks.
Their wine was like a paste.
That's what I always understood, and then I saw what the scholars write, that it wasn't. You can't really concentrate wine. That's what I thought, but I don't know. It could be. That's what. Maybe that's what it is. I don't know. That's what I learned in yeshiva.
Yeah,
that's what I understood, and then they would have to mix it. Mazel, they would mix it. Okay.
We're missing Eily Raphael.
Yeah, he'd have to search it up for us. They wouldn't put it into big baskets, big barrels. Tana, chaviyos, the barrels are kadiyos ludiyos beinanis. These were these barrels of lud, middle-sized barrels of lud. This is very interesting. They weren't supposed to pile it up one on top of another. Imagine these wine cellars, but this wine, I don't know, maybe it gave off some sort of heat or something.
Maybe they use racks. Instead of piling it on top of each other, use a rack.
But what would the issue be? I don't know. Okay. Kate said Baide. How would we check? This is the Mishnah discussed. It says Gizbar Yoshev Bekana Biyadei. He has a stick. Zarak HaGir Hikish Bekana. If the gear starts to come out, which we said that was this white like flowery substance that was on the top of the wine. So the wine, you would take the wine out of the middle, you would put a spout in the middle of the barrel, and the wine would come out. That would go lower down to the sediment. So the white flour, like a froth type of thing that was on the top of the wine, that was no good. So once they saw that coming out, he would bang, and then that meant that he should put the plug back in to stop. So Tana, Zorak Hagir ala shel shmarim. Here he says the gear is from the shmarim, from the sediment. Maybe it means that it would drip down until it reached the shmarim, because you were taking sediment was on the bottom, the kamachim, this white substance, was on the top. So gizber hikish bakana.
Over here they said here, why they not put one on top of one, שמא ריחו ייכנס בתוכו ויקלקל את החבית הזה. הנה, נקרא את זה בדיוק. כתוב לו, שעושים בלוד ואין מניחים אותם 2 סמוכות, שמא יתקלקל היין שבאחד וייכנס ריחו ליין שבשני ויקלקלו.
כן.
כן, you understand it?
נכון.
What he said here, that you cannot put one type of it.
There could be the smell will go.
The smell will go into it and ruin the other.
Interesting.
That's what he said here.
It's good. They definitely know more than I do. That's good. That's good for me.
You have to choose your friends.
Go sit in the chair.
No, it's his.
The Gemara asks, why does he have to bang? Let him give a shout. Say, put the plug in. Rabbi Yochanan. This is what you mentioned yesterday. This is a proof to Rabbi Yochanan. Just like speech is good for besamim, so it's bad for wine. The talking is bad.
That's why they put in wine cellars.
What? דיבור מקלקל את היין? דיבור, yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking.
Speak.
Ruin the
While it's being processed.
It's good for ketoret. Kol yafeh lebesamim. It's good for ketoret. So if a person is making ketoret, he should speak a lot.
Hadek.
We would have to
Hadek.
ask a scientist in the grinding of it. There could be that there's a chemical reaction that takes place with whatever the carbon dioxide that comes out of your mouth when you speak or breathe. It could be that affects something on the wine.
So maybe the opposite, speaking brings out more carbon dioxide, which damages the wine.
You know,
Right, that's the...
They made mechkar. Same the baby in the stomach of the mother. If you speak good things, the baby hears the same thing hear the flowers and the wine. It's the same concept.
Very nice.
Well,
Very nice. I wasn't even thinking of
Rabbi,
that.
you want me to move you and I sit over there?
No,
No.
Please.
Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda bar Rabbi Yehuda Aimer. Rabbi Yossi bar Yehuda brought a pasuk. It says Tmimi Yolachem in Chasam Tmimi Yolachem in Eskeim. He said that it needs to be perfect, and if it's not done properly, if it has kamachim, then it's no good. By Rabbi Yochanan, it's interesting. Now we have Rabbi Yochanan asking this question. Before we had this question from Rava and Rabba. Hikdishu Mahu. If someone sanctifies the wine and it has kamachim, what's the din? Mao sheyilka alav mishum balmum. Should he get malchus? Like the Gemara Tamura says, that if someone is makdish an animal that it's a balmum, he's over 5 lavin. So here, he's makdish the wine that's considered like it has a mum. Given the pasal kabal mum dami. Since it's pasal, it's like a balmum. And maybe a balmum, an animal to blemish, is only by an animal. The Gemara says teiko, exactly the same question that we had all the time. Taner Rabbanan was taught in a Bais, Eily Mayav the Rams, they come from Mayav Kvasim Chevron. The Kvasim come from Chevron, Agolam is Sharon. The calves come from Sharon, and Gaisus mi Haramelech. The birds come from Haramelech. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer Mevi and Kvasim Shegavhan Kirachvan. Rabbi Yehuda says that they would bring sheep that their height is like their width, like the broad shoulders. They're much taller. Normally they would be taller than their width, but these we needed special ones. Amar Rava bar Rav Shila. My time of the Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reason for Rabbi Yehuda? The Ksiv Yiramikcha b'yemo kar nirchav. It's talking about.
Anyone here have a pencil?
Yes.
Excellent.
Yaakov.
Yaakov doesn't have nothing.
Yes,
Yaakov woke up
man,
at 5 o'clock in the
like
morning.
Do you
Marai.
want a pen?
I want a
I
pencil.
do have a
Yeah.
pencil, but I was just going to use it. Okay, go ahead.
No, use it. I don't want to use it.
No, it's fine. Here.
Only if someone's not using it. You have?
Take them.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not an
Use it,
accountant.
use it.
Accountants have.
Check, go back to my car.
It's talking about all the blessings that will come in the future, and it says that the animals will eat on that day kar nirchav, which is like full fields, full the clusters of grain will be full. The only thing is that the word kar could also be translated as an animal, and it's referring to like this wide. Nirchav means wide animals, like broad shoulders, which means with like what we're saying here is that it's as broad as its height. It's like basically
The box.
yeah. We don't know about the I guess the whole thing doesn't say. Gerachman. Okay, Ksiv. It says in the pasuk, Al Chaymisayach Yerushalayim, on your walls, Jerusalem, if Gadati Shomrim, I have placed watchmen, Kalayim Chalalayla, all day and all night, Tamid La Yechshu. They will not they will not be quiet. Hamaskir Mes Hashem. That mention Hashem, Al Dami Lachem. They will not be quiet. My Amris. What are these angels saying? So Hachi Amar. Hachi Amar Rabbi Bar Shila. Rabbi Bar Shila says this is what they're saying. Ata Sakum Trachim Tzion. You get up, have compassion on Zion. That's what the watchmen are saying. Rav Nachum Bar Yitzchak Amar Ben Yerushalayim Hashem. saying what we say in davening, those halalukas. Build Jerusalem, Hashem. We're all in exile with this is like very gullus statements, but if they're there the whole time, what did they say originally? Amarava barav Shila kivacha Hashem b'tzini v'lameishavlei. Hashem chose Zion, a desire to dwell there. Okay, Hadran Allah kol karbanos tzivah b'li neder. Okay.
Amen.
Shtei midas shel yavish hayu b'mikdash. It's a big discussion about the different types of measuring cups that are in the mikdash, and if midas halach or midas hayavish are mekadesh, maybe only midas halach are mekadesh. But here the Mishnah says that there were two measuring utensils in the mikdash for dry matter, for dry things. One was an isaron, it was a tenth of an ephah, which we said is 43 eggs. The chatzi isaron, and then half an isaron. We're going to see what they were each used for, why this is necessary. Reb Meir says, Isaron, v'chatzi Isaron. You actually had three measuring cups. One was an Isaron, the other one was another Isaron, and then they had a half an Isaron. So it's the same thing, two Isaron. What's going on over here? Isaron ma'yem hashamish. What would they do with the Isaron? Shabayim maidul chala menachos. They would measure the mincha comes isaron. You can bring a certain amounts of isra'inim, but you would measure each one out. When it says you bring 3 isaron for a par, for a bull, and 2 for a ram, they wouldn't measure it in a measuring cup that held 2 isaron or 3 isaron. Ella maidadan israinus. They would measure it by the israinus, and they would measure 2 of them. Chatzi isaron mayay mishamish. What would the half an isaron be used for? Shabayhay maidad chavitika and gadol. They would measure the mincha of the kain gadol that was brought every day, but half of it was brought in the morning and half at night. So mechza b'bayka, mechza ben arbaim, they needed to have a half a cup.
Amen.
Tanya. It's taught in the Bais. Hayir Reb Meir Eimer. Reb Meir said, Ma Talmud Leimar. What is the pasuk saying? Isaron lakevas echad. It says twice the word isaron, which means one isaron for each keves. This is on Shavuos. It says this. Malamed, and there were seven klasim, the shivas klasim. Malamed sheshtei yisrael yisayim b'mikdash. This pasuk teaches me that they had 2 measuring cups in the Beis Hamikdash, echad gadash ve'echad machad. This is in the recipes. They say you have a spoonful, a teaspoon, a tablespoon of this. But you never know. What does it mean? Does it mean exactly flat along the top? Because none of the spoons in my house are the same. So, like if it's really precise, you can't do it like that. It doesn't tell me how much it goes over. Should it be exactly flat?
So machuk means exactly flat.
Machuk means that it filled an isaron when it was exactly flat. Gadish means it was an isaron when it was heaping. So which one was smaller? The Gadish one was smaller. Because you would have to pile it up to
You're
get.
saying the spoon is smaller.
Right. You would have to.
because
You'd have to pile it up to get a full isaron. So Reb Meir says that we have 2. Okay, Gadish Shabbai Hayamayid L'Chol HaMenachos. Maybe it looked better. Heaping, it looked fuller. The Gadish was used for all the menachos. However, excuse me, I need the next volume. Switches in the middle.
Intermission.
Word from our sponsor.
It's a good sign. They speak to people that if they use the Art Scroll Gemara, they have a big pleasure of putting it back on the shelf, taking out the next one. We get to do that much more often. Okay. Machuk, the one that was filled, it was flat. Shvayha Yamaydid, Lachaviti Kain Gadol. You see, what would happen is they would have to break it in half. They would have to divide it in half. If it was heaping, it would be harder to pour. It was easier to pour if it wasn't so full. So for the Kain Gadol that they had to divide in half, that was a larger one, so that it was a fully saran when it was full, flush with the top. Chachamim Maimrim, Chacham say lo yesham el isaran echad. There was only one isaran. Shenemar b'isaran echad lekevas echad. This is the pasuk that quotes from Rosh Hashanah. There was one isaran for each riyam. That's what they brought. So the Gemara asks the Bais, "Imkein ma talmud leimer isaran." So why does it say, according to the Rabbanan, isaran? There's only one. Reb Meir had a good purpose for it. He said that there's two measuring cups. The Rabbi's chatzi isaran. It's coming to include that you have a half an isaran. How do they get that from that? I'm not sure. Reb Meir chatzi isaran minale. Where does Reb Meir know a half an isaran? Because he already used isaran to tell me that there were two. There was one that was heaping and the one that was flush. Nafkale mi vi isaran. He uses the vav. It says vi isaran. By vi isaran echad lekevasach. Rabbanan. What do the Rabbanan do with the vav? Vav leidarshi. Like we say that this is usually how these drushes, when there's a machlekes in drushes, how do they come to an end? Either they can say that there's a machlekes in the end about something, or how do they conclude? Because what does this one do? What does that one do? In the end, boils down to one letter usually, and one will say, he doesn't darshan that letter. That's.
So is it arbitrary that one says I'm dashing this letter?
Oh.
Does I don't darshan the letter?
No, I don't know. I don't know. I bet if we add it up, we put them all on a table, we see we'll probably have a symmetry in these different sheetas of what they darshan, of loy darshi.
Saying it balances.
Yeah,
out.
we would have to work that out, which I didn't do. Should we start now, or should we? Because we've been doing a little bit of research on Amar Mar and Gufa when they're used. We should take note of this. The Rabbanan, they don't darshan the vav, and Reb Meir does. Okay.
Remember that?
I will remember, because Reb Meir is a light, so the vav is like a candle. I'll try to remember that. I don't know.
Okay.
We'll come across it again.
That works.
Reb Meir, Hai v'isaren echad lekevas echad mayavidlei. What does he do with v'isaren echad? That was what the Rabbanan used to tell me that there was one.
Only one.
Or that there was only one. It says, "Ahu shliyimded lebeshel shleish lapar v'lebeshel shnayim la'ayel." It's coming to tell me that you can't use a measuring cup that contains 2 or 3. The Rabbanan. How do the Rabbanan know that? So nafkalu minakudai. They learn it from the Nikud. You should really have a chumash to show you this. See if there's a chumash here. Yeah. So, let's go further. One line. Amar Rabbi Yaisi, Lama nakud vav shebe'emta isaran shal isaran rishon shal yom tov rishon shal chag. Why is there a dot on top of the vav in the word isaran on the first day of Sukkot? I'll show you. That's Sukkot. So it says over here, V'isaran, pasuk tesvav. Nakud al vav basra. V'isaran lakevas echad. This chumash doesn't print it. It's a problem. It just says that there's an extra dot in the Torah over the vav. You see that there's no vowels in the Torah. but on this word there's a vowel
In the Torah?
in the text, in the actual text. There's very few of these, and the Gemara discusses why does it have that there. It's not really a vowel that tells me a sound. It's just it happens to be a dot that's above the letter.
So it's not like in the kud over the vav.
It's
like
called
a
nikud.
cholam.
It's called nikud, but it's not really. It's not a chaylam. It just happens to be in the same place that a chaylam is. So why is it there? It's coming to tell me shlayimded leibeshel gimel lepar v'leibeshel shnayim la'ayel. To tell me that you can't use a measuring that's more than a nisaron. It has to be a nisaron.
So
It's coming to diminish.
You can't use the gadush.
That's not saying. No, a gadush is a measuring
Small.
of an isaron, but how do you measure it? You have to fill it up more. But it's not a measuring cup of 2 isaron or 3 isaron. It's still an isaron.
It's funny, the Rabbanan don't dash in the vav, but they dash in the little dots.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? So 1 second. So, no, the Rabbanan don't dash in the vav, but they dash in the dot.
Yeah.
And Reb Meir, nikude leidarish. Reb Meir doesn't dash in this dot. This is going to throw me off. I'm not going to be able to remember this. Okay. Reb Meir, nikude leidarish.
It's exactly the
So
opposite.
that's why
Should
he
be
has.
opposite,
He
right?
knows it from
Yeah.
V'yisaron.
That's
You
exactly
should
that.
dash in the vav, but don't dash in the extra vav. It's an extra.
I'm making a chart as we go along, and it's
You hold on to it.
it's
See, the darshan the dot is like the dot is totally extra. That's
Well,
I should darshan the
vav.
dot.
Why?
No, well,
It's just
avav is the way I pronounce it. I could write it with a chasar or malay, but the dot is totally extra. What is this dot doing there? It's never have dots in the Torah like that. It's got to be telling me something.
But the Sefer Torah is kosher without the dot. It's not kosher without a vav.
Actually, we hold that chasar and yater, it is kosher. We hold that.
Yeah, it's kosher
Yeah,
without it.
yeah. If it's just a vowel sound, because the kiyan b'chaseris v'yiseris, that's the Rama brings. Okay.
You're saying the word isaron could be grammatically written without a
Yeah,
vav.
yeah. Because those sounds.
Because a
you
vav
get.
is the purpose of a vowel, right?
Chatzi isaron. Ma hayem mishamish. Shabayim made lachavit kain gadol. The next Gemara says, it's a quote from the Mishnah, that half an isaron was a measuring cup. What would it be used for? It would be used to measure out the mincha of the kain gadol, which was half an isaron. It was half in the morning and half at night, in the afternoon. The Gemara asks, Maidid? They would measure it. For a minute, I'll ask a contradiction. Chaviti kain gadol, the korban of the kain gadol, the loaves of the kain gadol,